And go ahead, Sarah, and then Peggy.
Hey, Sarah.
Hey, Greg. Yeah, I was hoping to get some pointers for using the oils to support me around like ADHD symptoms, and I could tell you the specific symptoms if you would like.
Yeah, give me specific symptoms.
Okay. I mean, the main one is just this nonstop brain that goes in a million different directions all the time. Then there's like just
How are you differentiating ADD or ADHD and anxiety?
Well, so with the ADHD, what I've read is that can be one of the symptoms. I don't really have trouble sitting still with the hyperactive part, but that if your brain's really hyperactive, that could be one of the symptoms. I did get kind of a diagnosis from my psychiatrist, and we also did a neurotransmitter panel, and I was very low in neuroendoprinephrine, which is the transmitter that's very low for people with ADHD, and there's a big history of it in my family too.
Okay.
So yeah, just the brain going a million different directions. Hard time paying attention when people are talking to me. Lots of just like, I get so many ideas, like creative ideas, but really hard time focusing and following through on them. Just a hard time keeping up with errands, and lots of procrastination around errands and things like that.
So procrastination, and then also just like distractions when you're in the middle of doing something.
Oh yeah, I'm just very easily distracted, but it's partly like I'm curious about everything. But yeah, easily distracted too, for sure. I'd say that's the main ones.
Right. Let me think this out. Because there's different kinds of ADHD, and then there's variations, and even the diagnoses.
Yeah.
The distraction. I would have you start with two different things. I would do I would use sage quite substantially as a body tonic inhalation. That's gonna help with the neurotransmitter issues, and then the like be supportive of the adrenals, which a lot of times when things are bouncing around like what you're talking about, the adrenals are like they're overactivated, and like oil wise you would say, oh, you need to stimulate the adrenals, and it doesn't mean stimulation like being overactivated. It means like stimulating them to proper function, and sage is one of the ones that you can use for that.
Yeah, I've actually been doing a sage body tonic almost every day for I think about 3 months.
Okay.
But I know sometimes it takes consistency.
You should start to notice something, especially if the diagnosis was accurate. Do you happen to have galbanum?
I do.
Let's have you still keep using the sage.
Okay.
Because again, the sage, sometimes it might not be making it completely better, but it might be keeping things a little bit checked, even though you're not finding complete relief there. But
yeah, I have noticed since using the sage, I'm a little less sensitive to noises.
Yeah, perfect.
Like that.
And it's very good for the neurotransmitters in the brain, and like it hits a lot of the markers that that you're talking about there. So
I'm just using regular sage. Is there another sage that might be better?
No, you could use probably not.
Okay.
I mean, you could try different sages, but they're all going to be very similar in this area. The thing that you could do if you wanted to like step up the dosage would be like more of a Spanish sage, but I don't know that the dosage is really going to change a whole lot. So
Okay.
I would just stick with what you're doing. And are you inhaling the sage at all, or you're just putting on the body tonic?
Just the body tonic.
Okay. Do you have any sage that you can inhale?
I do, yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
let's have you inhale as well. Like
Okay.
just, couple times a day, 20, 30 inhalations, and just see if that can improve it. The thing that like you do with the galbanum is do a bunch of inhalations. It doesn't have to be all at once, but
Mhm.
on the throat. And after doing maybe 40 or 50 inhalations, and it could be in a few like batches, it doesn't have to be all at once.
Mhm.
Then maybe go to the ajna a little bit, and then the back heart.
Okay.
And the idea being that when your mind is like busy, like one of the things that we look at, or at least what I look at, is you're looking at more of the logical mind, which is based on sensory input, sensory information,
Mhm.
and then you look at the quality of the intuitive functions, which is like it's not based on rational thinking. So like that kind of like rapid thing, those thoughts running through your head or your mind being a million miles an hour. It just another thing that you could say is that it's lacking the intuitive thought, and there's an excess of logical thought,
Yeah.
which I mean is actually very normal. Like that,
Mhm.
that's not super abnormal, but like it can get a little out of control. And so the byproduct of the logical mind being out of control, I'm going to say this, but it's not how we think about it in the West, like this word or this term. Um it just means like, so basically when the logical mind becomes in excess, it produces like a kind of worry. And this worrying mechanism isn't worry like how we think about it, like in the US, like, oh, I'm worried what's going to happen, in the news. I'm worried about this person. I'm worried about that person. What it means in mystical practices is that the mind is trying to anticipate what's going to happen. Like
Mhm.
it's like it's trying to prevent from being displaced. And so it's really a byproduct of the stress response. um and that goes along with, like you said, like it's hard to follow through with a task, you get procrastination, all of those are tied to that as well. And so what happens when you use the galbanum, especially on the throat, you kind of go throat and ajna, but it's like the throat is the one doing the heavy lifting as far as generating the worry.
Mhm.
It takes a kind of like tension out of the brain, and it takes a kind of tension out of the mind, because the worry, like in the mystical sense, isn't like it's affecting the psyche, but it's not of the psyche, if
Mhm.
that makes sense. Like it's more like physiological. It's actually tied more to instinctual responses than anything. And so this part won't necessarily completely regulate the instinctual responses, but it's a step towards getting to a place where you can start to regulate the instinctual responses. Because
Mhm.
it's one of those things like the chicken and the egg, that like you just kind of keep going back and forth and treating something. But like when we look at it from a point of view of symptom oriented, you go, okay, if I do this, then this, then this. Where this is a lot more like a dance. Like you start engaging this worry mechanism, and then you start trying to address the stress, and you just kind of keep going back and forth until something kind of cracks or breaks, in the pattern. And so the the thing with the worry, like when I do this on myself, like if I do it at 7, I'm usually in bed at 7:30. Like, I mean, I'm like, it just knocks me out. And it just takes a bunch of like mental, emotional, physical tension out of your body. And the first few times, I mean, it depends. I might take a little bit to kind of crack the like the pattern, so to speak. But once it starts to crack, it starts to go kind of fast. And so let's have you start with that. Like, I mean, we could do a bunch of things, but like I think if you stay more concentrated on this for a little bit, and then we'll kind of roll it over into the stress response itself, then we can get them going back and forth. But I know, like personally, I usually go much harder on the galbanum right off the bat and than everything else, and it works almost every time. Like, you know, the times it doesn't work is the times where I'm too distracted or something, and I'm just not doing the process like I would normally do. And so let's start you with that. If you want to put some on your wrist, you could do that. If you want to take some extra galbanum internally, you could do that. I mean, I would suggest doing one or the other or both. You know, everybody has their like little kind of personal things that are like, but one's for Samantha and myself. I mean, we both take galbanum every day, and we both take Melissa every day. I'll take basil every day. You know, there's a handful of things that I use every day. Galbanum was one of them. I mean, it does so many good things for you. And so I'd say let's have you do that so that we start kind of cracking that ability to go like intuitive a bit more. And the intuition is just, it will help you to kind of regulate that part of the mind, and it will help you to sleep a little better. And you know, you're just, intuition isn't always, I can't remember if I've said this to you guys or not, but intuition isn't always like, oh, I intuit that this is, you know, what I should be doing, or I got this direction. Intuition also is the ability to be like taught something, like not memorizing, but like a process. So like you go, oh, I know how to tie my shoes. Like I go down, somebody showed me how to, like, you know, cross the laces and do this and that. That's actually a form of intuition, because you didn't think that out with your rational mind. Somebody showed you and you kind of mimicked it, and then eventually you're able to do that. And your mind isn't really perceiving like, these are the steps, this is the template, this is the consequence. Like it kind of knows that those things are out there, but intuition is, that's just like like what you would call like lower intuition. And so your ability to like engage a process or learn a process to have a certain kind of outcome is really more intuition than it is the logical mind. And so even here, you're using the intuitive components to be able to do some of the things in your day so that you don't have the busy mind, you could say, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay, great. That sounds really good. So 40 to 50 inhalations on the throat, and
Oh,
then
if you can do more, you can do more, but I'd say at least do that.
okay. So
Yeah.
once a day, 40 to 50, and then
It could be once a day, it could be several times a day. Like I usually save it till the end of the day just because it makes me a little sleepy.
okay.
But if you want to do it during the day, like if anxiety levels are high, being a little sleepy just means you're feeling normal,
Right.
And so like if you want to start off your day kind of doing that, you could do that, but definitely at the end of the day. And if you can do more, you can do more, but at least try to knock out 40 or 50, like, you know, inhalations with your awareness on your throat.
Okay. Okay. Awesome. Thanks so much, Greg.
Okay, you're so